message, Wilbon, that we wanted to talk to you about from you last week. It was the Saturday game, and it's usually an angry text. This one was a happy text, and it said,
Yeah.
"That's my quarterback."
Yeah. Yeah, those plays, he looked good. It was the greatest 6 for 13 passing performance in NFL history. But, you know, those plays, those three specific plays, there were a couple of others, but the three plays are that's the promise. That's the hope in a position that we don't know anything about in Chicago historically. And so, yeah, I was I was up screaming by myself in my house. I was in Arizona and trying to call and text people. And because it was early out west, even the Bears fans that are friends of mine in California and Arizona and play, they weren't necessarily locked in at that hour, and they saw it later. But it was just, you know, I mean, that's when you see him make those plays. And two of them, including, you know, going to a Dunze, that's the promise. That's what you're hoping for. I think it was at that moment I sat down and ordered jerseys of what I'm going to wear the opener against Tennessee.
You're not going to tuck those in, are you?
No tucking. That's a long time ago, Sylvie. Bringing up stuff from 2008.
We'll never let you live that down.
Hey, Mike,
I know.
we talked a bunch about whether or not you were going to watch Hard Knocks, and I believe you said that you did a little bit. Did you watch the third episode, which we all believe was the one that had the most to offer?
Yeah, I watched all three. The second one was like a waste of time, it seemed to me.
Yes.
And then, I've watched all three. I've watched all three on Tuesdays, you know, about as early as you can watch them, again, because I'm out west these days, and with a 2-hour time difference from Chicago. And, I mean, I found it interesting. For one, it gave us the details of Matthew Judon and why the Bears didn't wind up with him. But it also gave us a look into Caleb, a look into the quarterback room in general, in a more general way, not just Caleb. But I find it interesting. Am I going to go crazy about it like some people who found it the most important thing they've ever seen in their lives the first 3 seasons? No. But it's interesting. It is. It's interesting. It holds my interest. What are there? Just 6 total episodes. Were there 2 more?
Five episodes, 2 more.
5 episodes.
Yeah.
And the cut down. And look, I told you I was interested in the kid from Howard, which you talked about last week. You know, and Velus Jones. I mean, it's interesting because I'm predisposed to just saying, can we move on from Velus Jones? But he's engaging as well off the field, and that's a look that you don't get unless you have, you know, cameras that are allowed in. Because everybody's not getting that look. So, you know, I felt a little bit different about Velus Jones, especially after he had that performance where he had 11 carries for 100-plus yards. So I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, obviously, cut-down day, as you guys just mentioned, is Tuesday. And they got some interesting decisions to make. And the reason why I didn't go crazy over the Matthew Judon inability is, you guys know this, NFL teams cut capable players every year. And there's access to real talent every year. And maybe this guy they just picked up in this trade with Seattle is one of them. He's younger. What is he, like 7 or 8 years younger than Judon?
He's 27, yep.
Okay, so 5 years younger. Not as much younger as I thought. But they're going to be players on the scrap heap Tuesday. And you've got access to them. And it's not like the NBA where, you know, you're looking at a very limited number of players who can help your squad right now. Very limited number.
Yeah. So I like that he's always looking to wheel and deal. Back to Caleb. You know, we always would have you on because we knew that your son went to the same high school as the one that Caleb Williams went on, and that you mentioned that you knew his dad a little bit, but you never really want to get into it because they weren't committed yet. You liked Justin as well. Did you ever watch him play back in the day in that area?
No, not to Oklahoma. Oklahoma, his first game at Oklahoma, Matthew calls me, and because Matthew's in 8th grade then, but he knows he's going to Gonzaga probably, and he says, "Dad, you got to watch Caleb Williams." And I heard his name locally because he's a big deal locally in Washington, D.C., where he's all met and all those things, in the Washington Post. And I said, "That's right, Matty. Where did he go?" He says, "He's Oklahoma. He's going to play right now. Turn it on right now." And I was out of town, so I don't know where I was. I was in a hotel somewhere. And I turned it on and watched starting then. So I didn't No, he was on my radar in a loose way, but I didn't start getting locked in and rooting for him and, sort of running into him and running into his freshman year in Oklahoma.
Why do you think, and I'm like, I know you're going to say, look, Sylvia, I don't pay attention to that to begin with, but there was so much noise out there about him. He's a diva. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. You remember, we called you about this sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
I told you it was all stupid. I told you guys that.
He could not, so far, he could not have come across any better. And the way, like yesterday in the broadcast, goes over to the young girl, gives her a hug. He's a time for everybody.
I
All
told
of
you
his
guys
conversation.
this. I've already seen it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pay attention to stupid garbage. I'm not. I'm just not going to pay attention. I'm not going to let my life be dominated by crap that has to be denied or pushed back against. I'm not. And there's so much stuff on social media, and there's so many idiots out there with pages and posts. I'm too old for that. There's a word I'd like to use. It sort of rhymes with spit. That's not what my life is about. My life in sports media is pretty much, it's going to be over soon because there's just too much stupidity. And when there's not stupidity, there's smart people who can't have a conversation. They go straight to numbers because they're not secure enough or they've not been in a locker room. They've never had conversations with athletes and coaches and scouts, and they haven't covered any of it. And there are a lot of them on our network, and I just don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to push back on it or indulge in it. So I had a sense of what Caleb Williams was when he was 19 years old. I'm not going to listen to garbage from people who don't know crap.
Okay, Mike. So you're usually a very kind of, the best way to say it, like you don't get overly excited about things. You rather see it before you believe it.
I gotta
or
see
you
it,
need
right.
to see it to believe it.
Yep.
Maybe a better way to describe it.
Thank you
So
for that description, Tommy.
with that in mind, what are your expectations for this Bears team this regular season?
Well, to get better. They're in a division that, I don't know, maybe the second or third toughest, could be the toughest. If we don't know about Minnesota's quarterback situation, I ain't betting on that dude. We got to see and play. We got to see the pass rush, which you have to do in professional football. Because Caleb Dust is going to do things. Justin is still struggling with that in Pittsburgh. And they've got a lot of talent. I want to see them get better. Like, I don't need to, they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year, but can they improve from, week 3 to week 8? That defense, I think the defense could be great. Now, if the defense is great, then you're going to hear me up my enthusiasm. But I want to, let's just be a fair shake. Caleb Williams has thrown 20 passes. This is not like the preseason I grew up with as a kid watching when the NFL played 6 preseason games. This isn't that. They don't play any. The preseason, Steve Young told me this years ago. He's like, don't even look at the first 3 or 4 games and try to make definitive decisions because it's the preseason. The first 2 or 3 games of the NFL season are the preseason. That's what it is. And I'm taking Steve Young's word for it, which is great because I'm here in San Francisco right now within a shadow of where Steve used to play. And so I don't have wild expectations. I have wild hopes. My hopes are out of control, just like everybody else's. But unlike everybody else, I've actually spent time in locker rooms and covering this stuff and listening to coaches and GMs and smart people who wear yellow jackets, gold jackets. So I'm not going to get, overly nuts. I'm overly nuts when I, just see some of the possibilities. But I'm not. I'm coming to the opener. I'll be at the opener. And I'm going to try to keep a little, even though, I'm a combination of a fan, but yet somebody whose fandom ought to be tempered by actually knowing a little bit about what happens.
I'm with you. I've been in locker rooms. I've talked to smart people and to general managers, and all I could say is Super Bears, Super Bowl. They're going to win it all this year, Wilbon, so take that.
Just the first of 10 straight.
Yeah, of course. 20-0, baby.
Yeah. Amen.
Have you ever had, and you mentioned Velus Jones and sort of the character he's been, have you ever had an exotic animal, or have you ever let Matthew own an exotic
no,
animal.
No, he can't even own a dog. No.
Wait a minute. You're not even a dog family? You've not
Do you
allowed him
know
to
how
get a
much
dog?
I'm sorry. Where do you talk to me from every week? You have no idea where you're talking to me from every week. You have no idea. I have no idea. You can't have an animal or pets when you have no idea where you're living.
It's not fair to the animal. You know that.
That's not this life. It's not fair to anybody. It's not going to happen. It's not practical. You know, you're not going to move out of. You're not going to move somewhere and say, wife and son, take care of an animal. That's not how that works.
So no ferrets.
When you're on the road 40 weeks a year. That's not how that goes.
No ferret in your future.
No, that's just, no, that's nonsense.
Can you imagine Wilbon?
Now he's just getting frustrated with you.
No, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
That's like people who are going to. Remember what happened to? Where are the idiots who said Caleb's not going to play in Chicago? He and his father said they're not playing. Where are those morons?
Well, there have been a
Morons.
lot. There have been a lot of just ridiculous comments in the last several years in the world of sports.
Yes, there are. There are every day. But it doesn't mean I'm going to indulge these people. I'm going to look at them like they're fools, which they are.
That's fair.
He's still Tuesday, Wilbon, but on Fridays we're different than Tuesday Waddle and Silvy.
Yeah.
Fridays we're
gassed and ready to go. Maybe Mike played a little golf this morning and it didn't go as well as he would like. Now he's pissed.
You're a little salty today.
No, I'm way away from
What
that.
are you doing in San Francisco?
I am attending a wedding in San Francisco tomorrow, so I'm doing that.
Very nice.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, you got any Cubs hope left in you, Mike?
No. I
Okay.
watch these. MLB has this great thing with these condensed highlights. It's so cool. And I watch the condensed games every night. It's like 10 minutes. You can see everything you really want to see. And I like Steele's performance. They go up and down, up and down, up and down. I like how far are they out of a wild card spot? Like 6 or 7 games?
5.5.
Yeah. No, that's too much. If it was 3.5, I'd have a little hope. But they're no, it's okay. I mean, this wasn't supposed to be a year. I mean, this wasn't supposed to be like 2015 when I remember thinking, okay, next year's the year, and it was. I got that one right. So I'm not. No, this is the Bears' year. This is about the Bears. This is everything that will consume all of us, and that's okay. I don't need to act phony. I don't need to phony it up on the other teams. The Blackhawks have got to be 2 or 3 years away, 2 years maybe. And the White Sox don't matter, and I don't know what the Bulls are. I just don't know what they are.
How about your Wildcats as college football kicks off tomorrow?
I think they're going to be better than not tomorrow. Not tomorrow.
No,
not for you guys.
Does.
Week 0.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Miami of Ohio. And I'm going to be Duke. We played Duke on the night of a Friday night prime time game on September 6th. So I'm a little bit excited about that. I want to get back at Duke. I think that we went 8-4 last year. When people said, "Oh, they're going to die for 10 years," and more stupid junk. The program's is not going to exist. It's like the death penalty. And I'd like to give the death penalty to half the people who have a phone and are allowed to talk about sports. I'd like to give them the death penalty.
It really is, and we haven't spent a ton of time talking about it, and probably won't going forward. But what they did, all things considered, was one of the best stories in college sports last year.
Yes,
I think
it was, and the coaching staff. I mean, they brought in that staff. I'm okay with what we're doing, and I'm excited to see what happens these next couple of weeks.
Feels like longer than a year ago.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
It does.
It does.
That story does.
Yeah, you're right about that.
All right, Michael. Well, have a great weekend. We appreciate you. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
With Bill, what are we supposed to do for 18 days until they kick it off? What are we supposed
College
to do?
football.
It's too long. You're right. I mean, and
It is too long.
Do you know how long it will be for the Bears starters too, since they last played?
18 plus 7, 25 days.
I think it's
22 days.
22 days. Yes.
Yeah, that's I don't know
That's
about
too long.
I don't like that. It's
Mike,
too long.
But if you need a little football fix, I'm sure high school football is available as well. Go watch a high school game.
I haven't looked up Ignatius' schedule because I said I was actually going to do that. I went to one game at my high school last year. We have a really good high school football program. Maybe I might do that. I don't need a fix like you. Look, I got the U.S. Open. I've got golf. This is not, First Take and some other shows on the network where it can only be about whether Dak is going to get his money. That's not my life. That's other people's lives, who I love dearly, Stephen A. But that's not my life. I got. There's great stuff out there. The Premier League is playing. So I got the Premier League. I got the U.S. Open starting Monday in earnest. And I got golf, which is in its playoff format. I mean, could be down to 30 people. So there's lots of stuff that I will be paying attention to, just not the same old staid, boring stuff that people have to latch on to, and they can only want to know, when is Dak going to get his money?
Let me ask you this question, because this is a little off the beaten path. But you'd be good on this because of journalism, and this is your background, real journalism. You've got about 2 minutes here to ref, all right? Because we've got to be off in about 3.5 minutes. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Big White Sox game we got to cover.
Yeah. Deion Sanders will know.
I know. I knew you were going there.
Oh, good.
I knew
great
when
minds.
Deion, they barred. Colorado's even sanctioned this. Look, let me just say this.
Wait. But let me just tell the people, if they don't know what the story is. Deion Sanders will no longer answer columnist Sean Keeler's questions. Colorado says, citing sustained personal attacks. Now you go.
Yeah. I can't speak to what goes on with this columnist and Deion. I don't know. I can speak to what goes on with Deion for like decades of talking to him. There are times where Tony and I have been critical of Deion. Not only did he answer questions, he would come on the show and answer them. And then there were times in locker rooms where I go in after being critical of something, I don't know, a dance or something he did, or pouring water on Tim McCarver, I don't know, something. Not only did he answer, he was engaged, sit there and say, sit down, we got to talk. So I don't know what this is. I'm not going to sit there and judge. I'm not going to judge Deion by his relationship, and it seems stilted and weird, with somebody else or Colorado. I can't do that. Writing for the Washington Post and then working for ESPN for years, Deion Sanders has never said the words no comment to me or Tony. He has never said I'm not available. He has never said I'm not going to answer your questions. Never. So I don't condone in general the principle that says I'm not talking to a person. But you can not talk to a person. There are people I won't talk to in our business, and nobody's going to make me.
Who?
I'm not going to name them. There are people I
you give me a
won't
no
talk
comment.
to. I'm not going to talk. And the difference is I will say to them, dude, I'm never talking to you. I will say that. Have said that. And we'll say it again. But as far as Deion has been a person that I've felt I could talk to and get a candid, honest, heartfelt answer from since like 1990. How far do we have to go back? That's 35 years. So I just read it I read it flying out here. I'd like to talk to Deion and say, Deion, is this fixable? What can happen here? But there are people I don't talk to in the media. And there are people who probably haven't talked to me. So what goes around comes around.
Okay, good stuff. And that was perfect. Right on 2 minutes.
Boom.
Good stuff.
Boom. Got a clock in my head, as
Yeah.
Tony used to say.
All right,
All
good.
right, you guys.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Mike.
There's
Be
Michael
safe.
Wilbon.